Oh. All right, so welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, welcome back. This is the third lesson of day one, and we're going to go into your audience. But what I was mentioning was that you have to have like your sanity tools. You have to have your stay sane tools when you're working on creative projects. As I said a little bit earlier, there are times where you're going to be pulled in many different directions, and there are times that other things are going to try to stop you, hinder you, slow you down with your progress. And having whatever type of tools in your arsenal, whether it be music, for me, I have like a couple of, I have some songs that I listen to, things that I kind of use to kind of bounce me back, right? Bounce me back. But there are things that we do to stay fresh throughout the projects. One is that we don't take really long chunks of time and just dive in for a long chunk of time. We actually do the opposite. So let's say if I sat down to write and I say I'm going to have a 3 hour writing session. We don't just write for like 3 hours. Like you'll do 45 minutes and then you'll do a 15-minute break, and then you'll do 45 minutes and you'll do a 15-minute break. So one of my coaches the other day, I was talking to him and he was saying that in casinos, right? Like casinos are money making machines. They know how to get the most money out of their people that are coming into them, and they know how to get the most productivity out of their staff. So for the blackjack table, what they do is the blackjack guy who's the, you know, the dealer or whatever, they in their shift, they're working for X number of hours. They work for 45 minutes and then they take a 15-minute break, even if they still think they're quote unquote fresh. Why do they do that? Because they know that the brain begins to go down like after a certain amount of time. And so they want their blackjack dealers to be top notch. They want them to be super duper fresh. So we are the same, right? So sometimes we think if I sit at the computer, I'm going to sit there for 2 hours, 3 hours. I'm just going to go hard. Like there are moments where inspiration can hit you, but there are definitely times where it's most important for you to actually stop, take a break, walk around, get some fresh air, you know, move, then come back with a renewed sense of energy and a fresh sense of energy. So I want you all to take that as a part of your practice as you're going, because there's going to be times where you have longer chunks and there are going to be times that you have shorter chunks. But even if there is a time where like, okay, I can put 6 hours into this book, I'm going to take all Sunday and work on my book. Still, I need you to break that down. 45 minutes you're working, 15 minutes you're taking a break. All right, so let's do some ahas real quick from last session, and then we're going to go into the third session of today. So I want to hear from you all. What is one thing that you've taken away from the second session, right? The second session on formats and some about like what's coming next. What's been an aha that you're going to take away from today's second session? All right. So who's going to go first? Selwa, we'll come to you first.
So just the discussion we had about expanding this idea. So, you know, it starts off with a book, but now I'm expanding it to include maybe a curriculum or a unit, or just to make it more successful.
Awesome.
So for me, that was my aha moment. I was like, yep.
Yeah. And with that, I want, at the risk of, let's see, I want you to still focus on the book first.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So the book is the foundation. We're going to add that curriculum stuff, but we don't even want to do that until we get the book, you know,
Yes.
the book part done. Yeah. So great. We're on the same page with that. All right, cool. Sharanda.
I would have to say one of my aha moments was well, I had two. I had the transformation piece, like people signing up for transformations. It's important to show them or to detail out or call out what the expected change is. Because I think like that is important. You don't want them to do it. You don't want them to purchase just because you know, they're your family, your friend, and they love you and they're going to do it just to support you anyway, you still want them to use the material so that the change that you expect can happen in the lives, definitely, of the people that you know and love. And then that the concept of taking a concept of freedom and turning it into a prison, because it's not something that really speaks to you. It's not something that's going to bring you joy. It's not something that's going to really inspire you to do the work. Just because you are qualified for it doesn't mean that that's, you know what I mean, what you should be working on. And I thought that that was good, just to kind of keep focused and not spear off into other angles of the work, because you can speak to it intelligently or factually. If it still doesn't inspire you, that's not the work that you should be doing. So those are my ahas.
I love it. Yeah. There's so much help and there's so much goodness we can do just within the thing that we're passionate about, that we actually don't even have to branch off. I think a lot of us who are givers and a lot of us who are, you know, we really want to help people and we want to do the best thing we can do. Sometimes we will actually martyrize ourselves, like meaning that we will work ourselves to the death. We will, you know, put everybody else and do everything for everybody else because they can get some benefit from it. But truly, if we stay within what is really passionate for us, this is where greatness comes. Like greatness comes from staying with what you're passionate within and then doing the work within there. And you're able to do so much more because your energy is not split. It's not split with all these different things that are pulling at you and pulling you down. And yes, I'm helping people, I'm doing this, and that feels great, but it's not going to allow you to like really reach a true level of greatness as to the passion. So always kind of come back to that for yourselves. I have to constantly remind myself, because I am a giver. Like I am, it's a default of my nature, like to give. You know, when I first learned this, it was when I had this, I wanted to donate some money, right? I want to donate this money. And I was like, I ain't got no money. Like, how am I like a broke philanthropist? I was like, you can't be no broke philanthropist. You can't be giving. And then I'm not going to charge for this. I was like, what in the world? Like, this is just not going to work. So I was like, okay, I have to make some changes here, right? I have to make some changes. And the more, like the closer and closer I get to my true gifts and things that fulfill me at the same time, like it's my gift, I do it extremely well, and I get satisfaction out of it, like the easier life becomes. I don't really feel like I'm like, oh, I gotta get up. Like I didn't really feel like, oh, I gotta get up tomorrow and prepare this thing. You know what I mean? Like I like doing it. I feel great doing it. I get ahas out of you all having ahas. So I feel good about that. And that's the place we want to be. We never want to create something that's going to be jacked up for us just because somebody else gets benefit. There is somebody else out there that is passionate about that other thing that you can do well. You can do it, but they also have the passion for it, and let them do that. Like, you know, we stay with what we're passionate about. Okay. All right. So Jahada and Dr. Alexis. So I see Dr. Alexis here. So we'll go to Dr. Alexis first. She got all kinds of grandbabies around her. Get it with that legacy, girl. Get it. So give us like an aha that you had from the last session.
The aha for me was when one of the ladies said the why. I never focused on the why, but that actually that is the totality of it, you know, like the why. Like, why are you doing it? Why do you want others? You know, just why in every aspect. That was profound. That was the aha moment, because my series is about my life, because they're about what I do, you know, so I can never get tired of it, but I didn't never think about the why, you know, why? Why should someone read it? Why should they follow it? Why is it going to be good for them? Why is it, you know, and even like, yeah, these are my grandbabies, but these books they will read, you know, their children will read and be like, yeah, this is my great grandma's book. she was this holistic practitioner, and she made products, and these are her ingredients. And if one of them ever wanted to start a company like this one, or maybe they might have continued the work, I don't know, because you mentioned legacy as well. So that was another aha moment, the legacy, like helping others, but I'll also be able to leave something for my future generations to come, like this was my grandma, and it'll have pictures of me in it, like it'll be my words. So that's beautiful to think about, It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome. All right. So Jahada.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I don't really have an aha moment. I just have a moment where I realize like how like you guys are great. That's what my moment was, is that you guys are really doing something that is I know in my particular zone, I know how great it is when a parent is really struggling to have their child read. And I know how difficult it is when a child can't read, and then when they actually read their first word and their whole face changes and then it actually clicks for them. It's like the best thing in the world to me, So I know that what I'm doing is special, but when I listen to what you guys are doing, I'm like, that's a lot. And you guys are like outstanding. And so I don't really have an aha moment. It's just that I know that I'm doing something that is beneficial, however small my niche may be, but it's very, very important that parents know they can teach their own child to read and just don't have to pay money to all these people. So that's just that I know that I'm doing something that's needed. Just I guess validation, more validation that I know that it's needed.
Yeah. Man, reading is it's like, what is it? They said reading is fundamental. Like that is
Yes,
one of the
ma'am.
most important.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
know yesterday, I didn't go, but my father asked me earlier. I forgot why we actually didn't go. I think we both just forgot to go. But there was a gentleman at the Muslim Center who had received some letter or something. And so my father was saying that he asked him to come over and read the letter.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what do you mean?
Wow.
I was like, he doesn't know how to read. And he was like,
Wow.
yeah, I don't think so. Right. And he's older,
Wow.
either he may be able to read a little bit, but not where he could actually
Totally
understand, what the
Yeah.
letter was saying or whatever. So, and you like those stories like that, like those are things
Yeah.
you can do. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you hear
That's
about other
serious.
people, yeah, the
Mhm.
seriousness of it.
Wow.
Imagine how his entire life, could have been changed had he been
Yes.
able to read and comprehend
Right.
things that he was given. I couldn't even imagine,
I can't
So
either.
yeah. So what you're doing is absolutely critical. I work in international development a lot, and a lot of that is built around literacy, and it's built around the fact that many children don't know how to read, and so that stops the entire growth of the entire
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We have all those children that don't know how to read and stuff.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So great. I'm really excited about what you're doing. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to jump into the last session of today, which is all centered around your audience, right? This is all centered around the people that are going to be your readers, the people that are going to be your readers. Now, quite frequently, when I talk to new authors or such that come in and we talk about their audience and we say, well, who is your book for? Who are you writing for? And they often say, like, everybody, my book is for the whole world. Everybody can benefit from my book, like I had this one guy who was like, he's a financial guy, helps people keep their money and stuff like that. He's like, the whole world can benefit from this. I'm like, dude, the whole world is huge, right? Like that's billions of people. You don't need that many people, and everybody's not going to resonate with you anyway. So you want to be able to narrow it down. So that is the wrong approach to take. The wrong approach is to think that you're going to be able to reach the entire world. You're not, and you're actually setting yourself up for failure, right? You're setting yourself up for failure with that. You want to be able to focus on a specific group of people. Okay, you want to focus on a specific group of people. And these are people that you feel called to love on. These are people that that resonate with you. These are people where it's not like flies come into vinegar or something. It's like it's sweetness. There's a sweetness there around the people that you're working with. You want to focus around those that are going to really be able to jive with what it is that you're saying, right? To jive with what it is that you're saying. So with this whole notion of the world and your audience and such, one of the things that I want to go back to when we talked about, remember, becoming like a power author or writing a power book, a book that builds your business, your legacy, and humanity. When we're talking about that humanity piece, there is a reason why many celebrities, many big name people put energy into writing a book, even though they could use any other type of format, right? Like they could put their money into anything. Why do they select putting it into a book? It's because books drive culture, right? Books drive culture. Books drive the knowledge that is spread from one place to the next place. Like that's just part of that's just the way it is. Like we didn't create it that way. Many of you all are educators on here. So you understand that you don't have a school unless you have textbooks and books and materials that they're reading, right? It just doesn't happen. So there's a reason why they want to kind of control the knowledge. And it's because like when you control knowledge, you control the culture. When you control knowledge, you control the culture. When you control the culture, you can control then like the world, right? So there is a reason why celebrities, big name folks that could do anything, put energy into creating a book. Michelle Obama, with her book Becoming. So of course she did it for legacy purposes, right? Like legacy, meaning that she gets to tell her own story in her own words, regardless of what other people say. So that was extremely smart move to be able to tell your own life in your own words when you know that everybody and their mama has created a story about who you are, what you're doing, all of that. That alone gave her power, right? So she became a power author just by taking back her own narrative. But then also she was able to create ideas and put them into the minds of millions of people, right? Her platform is huge, right? She was able to put it into the minds of millions of people. So there's a reason why the big names, utilize books. And this is one of the reasons. And it just is what it is. I mean, there's nothing that we do about that. It's just the cultural society has already given authors a certain platform. You and I both know it, right? If you see someone who has written a book, you see them as a quote unquote expert in their area. Like, they're at least passionate about that enough to write a book about it, but then you see them as an expert in that area. So you're going to be tapping into the social power of becoming an author, right? When you create a good quality book, right? So your message, all of you all are good giving people. So you're going to be utilizing your message for good. Your book is going to contribute to the positive evolution of your family, your community, and your people. However, what I don't want you to do is try to go for the entire world. We're not Michelle Obama, right? We're not Oprah. And even those still have a specific group of people that they're targeting, right? They always have a specific group of people that they're targeting. But we have to focus on what we call the subculture, all right? So what I call the subculture. So let me hear from you all real quick. I'm going to stop the share. So when you hear the word subculture, what comes to mind for you? When you hear the word subculture, what comes to mind for you? And there's no right or wrong answers. You're not getting graded or nothing. So, okay. All right, Sharanda.
Just in my regular practice, when I hear subculture, I'm thinking of data sets, to be honest. But also when I think of subculture, I'm automatically like separating or drawing people out. And like classifying them. So
And when you think of culture, what do you think of?
I think about common experiences,
Mm-hmm.
like commonalities. If I am thinking broadly, if I, when I think of culture for myself, it's broken, just broken off into who I am or how I identify myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a woman, as an educator, as a wife, as a mother. So those subcultures of people, African Americans. So yeah, just different classifications or different categories, I guess, that people fit into based on commonalities.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Anybody else want to add to that? This idea of culture, subculture? All right. So
Dr. Alexis had her hand up.
Oh, okay, I missed it. Yes, ma'am. We can hear you, but you took the video off. Okay, now you can talk. So don't touch the mic again. Now just touch the video. Oh, she turned it off again. You still there, Dr. Alexis? Okay, now you can talk. Go ahead. Oh, but you took it off again. Oh, now we lost her. Okay, she'll probably have to come back in. Okay. All right, cool. So we'll come back to that. Anybody else want to add anything to that? The idea of culture and subculture? All right. So I'm going to pull up one of my favorite definitions. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay, UNESCO culture. Let's see if it okay, that's her coming back. Let me see if I can find the definition that I love from. Let's see. I don't think I'm gonna find it now. Usually I have it up. So UNESCO has the culture is one of those words where everybody named mama says it, right? And it's like it has so many different definitions. But United Nations, they have one definition that I really like. And so they say it is like a shared set of values, experiences, ideas that a common people hold dear. And what they say though is that usually those ideals and values, they're shared from one generation to the next generation without them actually thinking about it. They're shared like unconsciously. This is really a powerful statement in that one line, that culture is shared from one generation to the next generation, oftentimes without the people thinking about it. It's unconscious, right? It just happens. It's just spread like that. And so what's one of the powerful tools of sharing and creating culture is through books. And this is one of the reasons why what we're doing here is so important. So let me actually share my screen. I forgot to share, go back. This is one of the reasons why what we're doing here is so important. So when we're talking about subculture, let me go back. Things, share. So when we're talking about subculture, We're talking about a specific group of people that have shared ideas, shared values, and shared beliefs, right? So if we were to take American culture, so we can say American culture, that's the big American culture. Then we could say women, right? So women would be a subset of American culture. American women would be a subset of American culture. Then I could say, well, I'm not really writing just for all American women. Like my book is really centered around mothers. Okay. So I go from all American women to mothers. So America to American women to mothers. Then I can say, okay, well, it's mothers, but really, in my book, is centered around mothers whose children have grown up and now they're trying to take their life back. You know, like their kids are out of their house or whatever, and now I'm trying to like bring my life back, rejuvenate, refocus, get my life back, you know, for myself or whatever. So that's really the type of mother that I am focused on. So can you see why focusing on that particular subculture of people, like this woman who has raised her children are out of the house now, like that's a different mindset than just a general American, right? And that's a different mindset than just a general American woman, right? And that's even a different mindset than just a mother, because a mother of a brand new baby is totally different than a mother of a child that is that has already left the nest, right? They're two totally different mindsets. So this is why you want to be able to write your book for the subculture, not for everybody. We're not writing for the masses. We're writing for a particular group of people, right? We're writing for a particular group of people. So for you, I want you to do this exercise right now of narrowing in from a big picture into a smaller picture for yourself. So this is what we call nicheify, right? The riches are in the niches. Your riches are in. I hate people say, well, it's really pronounced niche, Zarina. I say whatever. I pronounce it niche, and that's the way I'm going to do it because it rhymes with rich. So I want for you all to come up with your subculture. How do you view your group of people, your specific group of people that you are going to be reaching, right? Like your people. These are your folks. And the more specific you can be, the better. All right. So we're going to take 2 minutes and I want you to write out your niche, your subculture. And you do it on a blank sheet of paper. Just put my subculture and then write out. We're gonna take maybe 1 more minute. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah. This is a different one. Let me find mine. You guys got it? All right. So we're going to keep building on that now, right? So we're going to keep building on that. So I was trying to find my other definition. I see this one that you put, Jahada. I like that one, but it's not the one that I actually, it's not the other one that I use. So I'm going to actually find it. So what we're moving from now, everybody, you should have a subculture in your mind though. So type those into the chat box because I do want to make sure those are solid and synced and you're not thinking about it up here because sometimes people still think about it up here and I may need to still narrow you in a little bit. So type that into the chat box so I know what you're looking at, and then we'll go into this. So now the subculture is a group of people, right? It is a group of people. Now we're going to actually narrow in, and I want you to think of just one person first. One person. This is going to become your reader avatar. This is going to be the person that you envision reading your book. When you visualize someone picking up your book or your ideal reader, like this is who you see, right? This is who you see. So we're calling this like your avatar, your reader avatar. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So let's say that I am writing a book. I am writing a book about manhood. And like I have a friend, his name is Dr. Joe. I forgot his last name now, but he does work with helping men, like, you know, be men, something like that, like manhood, all that kind of stuff. So let's say this is his avatar. So his avatar is James. You know, he's 50 years old. So that what's 50 years old? That means he's lived some life, right? He's probably not in school. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got to think about these things. So he's 50 years old. He dropped out of college to start his own company. Okay, so he's an entrepreneur. He's estranged from his wife and his children. He doesn't feel like a man, even though he's in a position of power. So he's a CEO of his own company, but he doesn't really feel like a man. He's lost his wife and kids, or at least he's estranged from them now. You know, he doesn't have a college degree. So even though he made it, maybe there are some feelings of shame around that. You know, I don't know. But he is and he's 50 years old, right? So can you see how working towards a book around this particular type of guy, this man, would be different than working on a book around a 21-year-old recent college graduate, right? A 21-year-old recent college graduate. He's a man, but it's totally different, right? So we want to nicheify and get down to your avatar. So let's see here. So here's Juanita. She's 34 years old. So she's not in school. She's out of school, probably working, whatever. She wants to launch a new business. So she loves BET, Black Enterprise. I'll tell you why I said that in a minute. She went to a HBCU. She reads Oprah magazine. She loves Marie Folio, who's like in the business world. She's been having trouble having a baby, and she's thinking about a career change. All right. So let's say this is her. This is my avatar for Juanita. And let's say my particular book that I'm writing for this are women who did all the great things. You got the job with the benefits, but you're still feeling unfulfilled, right? You're still feeling unfulfilled and you want to make some changes. So this is the level of depth that I want you to get to for your particular avatar, right? So we're going to have a name for your avatar. You're going to make them a person. It's almost like you are writing, you're Sharanda, not just Sharanda, but what's that? Shonda. You're Shonda. What's her last name? Shonda Rhimes. Shonda Rhimes. And you're writing, you know, a sitcom or a drama or whatever, and you have the character. and you have to build the character, like they have a name, occupation, family, all of that kind of stuff. Like you want to have that. For you, Selwa, this is not what we did the other day, centered around your characters in your book. This is separate, right? This is actually the character, this is the avatar who's going to buy the book and read the book. So one of the reasons why I asked Sharanda earlier is the book geared towards youth, or is it geared towards the adults? Because I kind of remember you said it was geared towards the youth, but I couldn't remember all the way. So if it is geared towards the youth, then that's who you want to have your avatar. And even your beta readers, you would want as many of the beta readers to be actual youth, like the people that are your ideal readers for the book. Same for Selwa. Like if your book, like your book is the student, your book is the middle grade student. Now it does get a little bit complicated when you're talking about things for youth, because they don't buy their own stuff, right? Like the parents buy it and then they give it to them, but the parents actually buy it. So oftentimes you have to kind of think about both, you know, the avatar for the parent and then also the avatar, like the actual reader, right? You have to kind of think about both. You can't ignore the one. Also, if you have something that is geared towards youth, however, it's sold through principals, for example. Let's just say, you know, it's geared towards youth, but it's sold through another level. There's another level, there's another gatekeeper. You have to think about who that gatekeeper is, right? And you also want to, you know them for marketing purposes. All right, but for the content of the book, it needs to be going directly towards your avatar. So this means it's a person. This is a person now. The subculture is a group. The avatar is one person. So one person has a name, an age, a gender. They have a school they went to. They have family. They have fears. They have doubts. They have desires. You know what I'm saying? So there's one person. So right now you're going to take a couple of minutes, and this may take you a little long. I don't know. We'll see. But I want you to write out your avatar. And remember, it's not a group. This avatar is one person. One person. All right. All right. Do you guys need another minute or you got it? Or you have your person? I still see writing, so I'll give you one more minute. All right. So we're going to continue because it's going to make a lot more sense, as we continue to go. So you'll see why this is really important. And how the language gets so much more clear and defined when you know exactly who you're writing towards. Now, with the idea of your avatar, right? The idea of your avatar, what you become in essence for your avatar is you become an aspirin to their headache. You become the problem solver to one of their problems. And this is why the avatar loves you. Like you're helping them to solve a problem. So I'm gonna go back to Selwa real quick, just because, it's in my head. So, like, let's say I pick the avatar at this particular moment. Let's say I'm picking the avatar for a child that's in a school that doesn't have, any other types of materials, culturally responsive materials. Let's just say first I'm picking it for a Yemeni kid, who's in school, never seen another book about Yemen at all or whatever, right? So what's the headache? The headache is that they never see themselves represented in any of their school materials. They're literally going 12 years to school and never seeing themselves represented at all. Can you imagine? Like 12 years, you go to school, you never hear anything good about where you come from, in the school system. It's not even there. So that could be one of the headaches, right? So your book addresses a problem, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, whatever, it still addresses a problem. And if your book is for any other reason other than just legacy, like you need to make sure that your book is addressing an issue. What I mean by that is that if you're writing a book solely for legacy purposes, you only care about your family reading it and your, children reading it, then it doesn't really matter who else reads it. It doesn't really matter to you how many other people it reach. That's different. But when you're writing a book that needs to be able to reach other people, it has to have some type of a social aspect. It has to have a problem that's associated with it. And so in essence, again, you become like the aspirin to their headache, right? Like you are a solve, you are a solution. You are a solution. So if I know what my reader, what my avatar is dealing with, if I know what I'm going for, then I can position it in that way. So I'm going to just go back to Selwa real quick. So if I say I have the avatar of the reader, and then let's say later I also write up the teacher. So I'm going to do this same exercise. I'm going to think about from the teacher's perspective, what are their issues? What is their problem that they need to have addressed? And how does my book then help them solve their problem, right? How does my book help them solve their problem? So I want you all now, like your next part of this is you have this avatar in mind, right? You have this avatar in mind, and everybody type their avatar into the chat box. I have had a couple of times where I've done this and I thought that it was clear for everybody, but it actually wasn't, because people still would have like either groups or whatever. So I want everybody to type in your avatar into the chat box.
With all the details?
Yeah, yep, as many details as you can. Their name, their age, their gender, whatever other characteristics that you can think of.
So I have two. I have the student and I have the mom or the parent.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me about the student first.
So you said to narrow it down to subculture. So first I started with students, and then I started breaking them into different subcultures until I arrived at Yemeni American. And so my avatar's name is Muhammad. He's 11 years old.
Mhm.
And I just put down what his hobbies and things like that. But I also mentioned, he enjoys listening to his parents talk about their homeland, but he doesn't know much about it. And when people ask him about his country, for information about his country, he doesn't have the information either. So my book would be a remedy for that.
Mhm.
And then go on. And then the mom is, so I have.
Hold on 1 second. Let me say something about Muhammad, right? Like just to put this in your head, and it may not, but like some kids are have an affinity towards their homeland, and some kids don't, right? Like they're like, oh my gosh, she's always talking about that,
Yeah.
she's always talking about the homeland. We're not there, mom. We're in America
I know.
now. Blah, blah, blah,
So
right?
I've seen both sides. Like I've seen kids that are really proud and kids that don't even mention it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So then the mom, I would say 33 years old, Yemeni American mom, who loves her children and wants her children to learn about their culture and their history, but she can't find literature to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the book would be a remedy for that too.
Yeah. So give them names, give them give them characteristics. And then also I want you to do one more just for the teacher, like the educator as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome. But when you're writing the content for your book, you're writing it towards Muhammad.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right. Sharanda, so let's go through your Tracy Bell. Tell me about Tracy.
So Tracy, have Tracy, 30-year-old female, single mother, recently divorced, formerly a housewife, re-entering the workforce, and unsure about workplace skills. So like not even really sure where to apply to be gainfully employed because she's been a housewife. So
Mm-hmm. So talk to me about this particular angle of the workplace skills. Why did you pick that particular angle?
because I feel like going to that extreme also offers the aha moment for a lot of women who are in the redefining phase. Like there are also like so many career women who are like, I did this straight out of college. I made this decision when I was 25. You know what I'm saying? Who I was at 25 is not who I am now. I may make the money, but I hate this job.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I do? What else will suit my lifestyle, have me gainfully employed, but what else am I good at? Like they don't know what direction to even go down.
Mm-hmm.
Because they haven't spent the time to even figure out like who am I, what are my interests, and like what am I good at that I would want to do either for solely to for inspiration purposes or to be gainfully employed. Because like for some women that I talk to, they would find the relief from working this job that they don't necessarily love if there was something giving them that energy in their life, but they don't know where to even begin to find that outlet. So
yeah. Okay. I understand. I understand that. Okay. So is this still the journal? This is the journal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How is this related to what we talked about earlier with that SEL stuff? What is that SEL stuff?
So the SEL part, so when we talked before, like my first because there are levels to it. So like my first entry level to get the work started and to start to generate actually completing a phase of what is in my head as the bigger picture, I'm starting with the adults. But many of the issues that are found in the young adult, middle-aged woman, many of those concepts from being in education start to manifest as early as late elementary and middle school. Like those young ladies are lacking self-concept that early. They are learning to be pleasers of other people instead of builders of self that early. And so that doesn't go away. Once you start to form those habits, you just become a people pleaser. You just become the little girl who's going to do whatever so this boy will like you, instead of being the person that you are and knowing that it's okay to wait for the right boy like you. And it just transfers. It transfers into each phase of your life until you reach that age where either you just die unhappy or you hit the wall. But now you don't even, who finds their social circle at 40? Like nobody's hanging out like they were in college when you found your crew. So how do you find your clique at 40? Where do people do that? But even if you do it on social media, which is where a lot of people do it now, how do you present yourself to the public? Like, who do you tell people that you are? You don't know, because you just been saying yes and trying to please everybody else.
And what does Tracy ultimately want right now?
For Tracy, she is trying to come to know who she is as an individual, like outside of the roles that she plays. So outside of being a mother, outside of being a wife or an ex-wife or whatever, who is she and what does she like and what does she enjoy? A, and then B, being in that place where you now need to or want to find something that may inspire you but also render income. What might that be?
It's the second part I'm scared of right now. The second part of like the finding the income or like the workplace skills. And I'll tell you why I'm scared of it at this moment is because we will have to be really careful about how we define like the transformation that you're going to give them from A to B, right? A to Z or whatever. Because if you bring in the money side, then a part of what people are going to start wanting or feeling that they're going to get is like, oh, well, I got a new job from this, or I started a business, and they're going to expect you to be helping them do those things. So I want you, like, and it may be a part of what you're doing, but I want you to be real clear in this case about what transformation your journal is going to provide for them. And I would rather you minimize or like pick a, A to C versus A to Z or whatever. And like, it's too much, you know what I mean? Like it's something that you can really clearly provide for them, and they're going to work through that. Maybe outside of the money piece, that may be a part of their defining characteristic, that they are having some money issues, or they want to get back but they're not quite sure. But I don't want that to get tied into what you have to provide for them.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So so now I see that when you do the journal, the first part of the journal, like why you have those 6 women, because even if they're not 100%, your avatar is still, they're still going to be good, but I see why they're adults, because at first I was thinking we were doing like the thing for youth first, and so I wasn't quite sure. Okay, good. All right, so Jahada.
Yes, ma'am. I am going to share my screen. I think I'm gonna try to share my screen.
Yeah, let me stop mine and then you can share it.
Oh, okay. I didn't even look at that. I just started it over, son. Sorry. Yes, I'm serious, son. Or you disabled it. It says it's disabled.
Oh, let me see.
It's okay. I was just gonna show I made a slide.
You can share it now. You should share it now.
Okay. You can see my screen?
It looks like it's working on it. It's coming. Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, so this is my avatar, Iman, sister Iman. She's an illiterate Yemeni mom, but she's memorized most of the Quran. She just arrived in America. She's dependent on her husband totally, but she cannot speak any English whatsoever. Her husband came years back and he worked odd jobs, and then finally he's an engineer, so now he's able to put his children, so he brought the family over and he's putting them in private Islamic schools. I think, and maybe Sister Sawa could talk more about it. I think that a lot of Yemeni families from smaller villages have some fear of, they want to come to America for the opportunity, but they have a fear of putting their children straight to public schools. I don't know what all those fears are, but it's like they're trying to hide them in private Islamic schools, kind of, to me. That's how I feel. And then they know their children aren't at level, so they'll want their 8-year-old to be in the right grade, but the 8-year-old can't read at all. Or they'll want vice versa. Their 8-year-old can't read, but the school doesn't want to put them in their right grade because they can't read. They want to put them in kindergarten. And then that parent, it just depends on which parent it is. That parent's upset that I'm not putting my child with a kindergartner and he's 8 and things like that. So that's my avatar.
Okay. So how did you pick this avatar? Is this a common person that you're normally working with already?
Yes, a lot. A lot. Yeah.
And okay, great. So you already have worked with this particular type of avatar, and you like working with this avatar.
I love working with them. Yeah, mashallah, because sometimes they actually think that their children have some type of problem, and this, depending on which school it is and which teacher is talking to them, they're making it seem like there's something wrong with their child, or why didn't you do something about your children? They're making the family feel like they've done something wrong. And so it just it compounds the problem of not reading altogether, and everybody's frustrated. The parents are frustrated, the baby's frustrated, the child is frustrated. So, it's just a bad situation. And most of the time, once they begin to read, it usually takes a lot of years actually, because of the parent might take the kids out of the school, switch them to another school, then they got to come back anyway because the other school is trying to put them in all these different services. And then some of those parents are really scared of those services, knowing about their family, thinking that they're going to come take their kids from them and all this other, there's so many dynamics to it. So yeah, this is most of what I've seen a lot of. I've only taught in, as I said, I don't have a degree, so I can't teach in public school. So I only teach in, I have assisted in public school, but I've only taught as a homeroom teacher, lead teacher in the private Islamic schools here. So this is what I see a lot of, and I see a lot of them in certain schools. They won't go to even to other Islamic schools. They won't go to those schools because of, I don't know all the dynamics of why they chose this particular school, but it seems like a lot of them choose this particular school. But alhamdulillah, they're really artistic. I don't know if it's just Yemen or they're really artistic children, and they memorize like so much of the Quran, but they may not be able to read in English or in Arabic. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I love it. It's defined this specific group of people. You know who they are. You've already worked with them before. It's not like just pulling it out of a hat. So yeah, I think you're right on. And I love the way you just whip up the graphics. Get it? I like that. Also, okay. So Dr. Alexis, and then we got one more section. Hang in there, you all. You're almost there. Hang in there. All right, Dr. Alexis.
Can they hear me?
I'm hearing me.
We can hear you. It's like, no, I'm just playing. All right, Dr. Alexis.
I turned it off.
I wish I could unmute you over here, but I can't. Okay, there you go. You got it.
Okay, I apologize. Okay, my avatar is going to be called the Naturalist.
Okay.
Because it could be either Jack or Jane or John. I didn't give it a name because that's the name. Because all of the different all of the categories that this person could be placed in still fell under naturalist. So that would be like the audience, the reader of my series would be someone who's into being natural, whether they have already been, what you said, focus on people who are already into what you're trying to offer, and whether they're trying to learn more. So they're still going to be considered wanting to know about being natural. So the naturalist, so they could be any age, 80, 30, and if they're 13 and under, with adult supervision, they'll be able to comprehend and utilize whatever's in my books. And also for this particular person, they're gender neutral and they're age neutral. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just grabbing a piece of tissue.
Okay, so that's about it. So this person's called Mr. or Mrs. Natural list.
Okay, so I love this as a subculture. It's great. You know, Mr. and Mr. Naturalist, all those different characteristics or whatever. That's great. As the subculture, a bigger group. But for your avatar, I need you to actually painfully, it's going to feel painful at times. I need you to actually painfully pick one person and give them a name, now, the reason why I say it feels painful, because like when you're doing this exercise and it's like, you know, there's multiple people that are going to resonate with your stuff. Eventually there's multiple groups and things that need what you have, like to narrow in on one exclusive avatar feels like you're excluding the others. And none of us want to exclude the other people, right? So it feels like you're excluding, but we're actually not going to exclude them. They're going to come in, but they're not going to come in right this moment. So we have to pick like one avatar in the early onset, because when it comes to exercises, when it comes to language that you choose, when it comes to examples that you give, the more focused in on that avatar you are, the easier it becomes to actually write the material, right? The easier it becomes to write the material. Now, also, when it comes to like the age range or whatever, like if I'm going towards, let's take an extreme. Let's say I'm going towards something that is going to be for teenagers. So if I'm writing towards a 16-year-old, that's a different type of language that I would use versus I'm writing for a woman that's going through menopause or something, right? Like there's different language, different examples and such that I would use. Now, with this avatar thing, it doesn't mean that that's the only person that's ever going to pick up your book and that's the only type of person that will resonate with what you're saying. However, it gives you like a road when you're writing. It gives you a road when you're creating the content for the book. So Dr. Alexis, what I need you to do is actually go back and then narrow down that subculture of the naturalist, right? Like we got the naturalist, what'd you say? Jane or Jen, right? Gender neutral. Like I want you to narrow down that and then actually like hone in on one person.
That's gonna be hard. I'm gonna do it though, but it's gonna be hard.
It is. It's gonna feel painful. That's why I said it's painful. It's a painful exercise. But I need you to do it anyway at this onset, because envision, you all, like when you think about the world, it's so many people. Like there are billions of people in the United States. There are 300 something million people in the United States alone, right? This one country, there's 300 something million people in the United States. If I were to envision or imagine that I'm walking into a big school, and then on either side of this school, there are doors. There's a lot of doors. Behind every one of those doors is a collection of my avatar. They're a collection of the people that are my ideal people, my spirit clients, my spirit readers. These are people that I jive with. It just feels great when I get into the room with them, right? And I can only open one door while I'm walking down this hall. I get to open just one door and I walk inside of there. I want you to envision like who is in that room, right? Because out of this 300 million people, the better we can come into attracting the folks that we want to work with and repelling the others. It's not to say that nobody else is ever going to buy your book, nobody other else is going to get benefit from it. However, it's like, especially when you're doing things leading towards workshops and other stuff, you want to be as specific as possible so that you pick the people that you attract the people that you want to work with, and you repel the others, because you don't need 1,000,001 people to be successful. Like, you can have a thriving business, help a lot of people with a small number. So why not be more focused at the beginning to give you a large concentration of the people that you actually like and want to work with, then to spread yourself out more thin and end up risking possibly getting other folks that don't feed your spirit, that don't feed your spirit. So I know this is like a hard concept and a lot of people hate it. That's why I said it's painful. But a lot of people absolutely hate like the narrowing down of a bigger community, like to a niche. So does that make sense for you, Dr. Alexis?
Yes. So when you put it in that perspective, I would say initially I wanted to gear it towards the homemaking woman, the homemaking, not the working woman, but the homemaking woman. And then I started getting more inclusive, like I started adding. But typically who would follow this book precisely would be a homemaking woman, because she has more time, who wants to start an independent business from it, But so what you're saying does make sense, because that would be an audience that probably would spend the most time on the book or reading it and following it. So it does make sense to like gear it towards a particular audience. And if others do participate, then they just participate. But it would make more sense. And marketing wise, it would be easier to market to that particular audience, because she can stay at home and make this stuff all day and start a whole business and shipping out, and because she doesn't have to leave her home, So I'm going to really consider closing it in and focusing on that, because that actually would make it more marketable.
Yes, you got it. It's exactly right. When you narrow in, you actually reach more people. It just is what it is. It's a weird concept, but when you like narrow in and have a small niche, you actually reach more people. That's why we say the riches is in the niches. Like you
I
reach
see
more.
that.
Yeah, and it's easier to write, it's easier to market. One of the reasons why we're doing this, right, is one, to write the content to make that easier. But then, like you so rightly just brought up, is that when you're going into the marketing, right, think about all the big brands, like how hard they work to reach certain minority groups or such. So they're going to use, a black guy with glasses or whatever for this billboard in the city of Detroit. But then when they go way out there, they ain't using that black guy with that. Like they're using somebody else.
Right.
That, is going to be better suited to that particular area or whatever. So marketing and stuff really makes a big difference. And because we are going to have limited budgets, with what we're doing. You got to be targeted. Like you don't have millions of dollars just to be wasting on some campaign and hoping it lands with somebody. You need to know your client, your reader, your avatar, like intimately, to the point where I understand their headache. I understand their problem. I understand also the inner dialogue that's going on in their head. I know when my reader is laying up at night, in the middle of the night, and they're thinking about their problem or they're thinking about whatever it is, like I know what's going on in their head. I know some of the language that they're using, because those are things that you're going to use when you're making your website for your book, when you're talking about the book description, all of that stuff. You're going to write it from their perspective, not just from your perspective of I wrote this because XYZ. Nope, we're beyond that. And now we're into the mindset of the reader. So tomorrow we're going to be actually diving even deeper into this concept of your reader and your audience and how you're actually going to reach them. Like how you're actually going to reach your audience. How do you get your book in front of the right people? How do you build a movement around it. Like that's what we're going to start and go into tomorrow. So you have one piece of homework for today, and that is that I want you to clearly write out like what problem your book addresses. What is the headache? What is the problem that your book addresses for your avatar? For your avatar. And even if you feel like you're starting to go back and just think about the bigger group, I want you to really kind of force yourself to just think about the avatar for this particular for today, right? Like force yourself to go
I
back.
have one question.
Yeah.
Okay, so since I signed up for this this phenomenal program, I've been like wanting, so eager to just get to going, and I said no, I'm gonna wait until the program. I don't want to do anything until the program. But now after today, like I'm so excited. I want to just, as soon as we end, I want to design my cover. I want to, should I be doing that or should I wait? Because I want to go like get on my computer, design my cover. I actually want to create like an ad, promote like a pre-sale, because I got to get this thing done. And I want to, for me, I have like a time frame, 2 weeks, I'm going to be done. So is that too much or should I do it? Because I want, like, I'm so inspired to just get this done.
First of all, I love you for that, right? I love you for that. Take action. We are all team take action and team no excuses. So I love you for that. What I will say is that what I first want you to do is go over your notes from today and just make sure that you have locked in on your target audience. You have locked in on that topic. I feel like you're really there, but I want you to also just lock it in. Now, what I would say that I do want you to do before you go into, but what you can do tonight, before you go into doing like your cover and all of that kind of stuff, is that you can do some research on other books that are similar to your topic. So you can go into Amazon, right? You can go into Amazon, type in naturalist, see what other books come up. Type in how to start your own body care line. See what other books come up. So I want you to become the researcher for your subject and see what else is out there. Not because it's going to skew us or move us into any other direction, but it allows us to kind of do a review of what's already there. And so then we know like how our book is placed within that, right? How our book is placed within that. Now, the reason I'm slowing you down on doing the cover and all of that is because if you remember what I said earlier, like I'm pulling you back so that when I let you go, you'll be able to go like super fast. There are times where you can get so excited about doing all that stuff, but you haven't yet done all of the preliminary steps. You haven't, right? You haven't yet done all of them. And so you'll end up wasting lots of time. So I don't want you to waste time doing stuff that won't even be used. I want you to use your time effectively and get more knowledge around your subject, your topic, what's already out there. You can start to read through some of the book descriptions that you find on Amazon, see how they're positioning it, see if you can figure out what their avatar is or how they're kind of, how they are targeting a certain group of people, whatever, right? So that's what I want you to do. Does that make sense, Alexis?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's why you're the expert and I'm the student.
Awesome. Well, good students follow, right? Because I had some people that were like, I don't care what the hell you say, Zarina. I'm gonna do this. And I'll be like, okay, well, do you, boo? So, okay, I see you with the cover with the design. Jahaden whipped up a slide just today, so I can imagine that you probably already made a cover. You already had that. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But what I don't want you to spend extra time into that right now. Like I want you to spend time in knowing your topic, your audience very well. I want you to spend time. We're going to talk tomorrow about like how to find your audience, all of that. But I want you to like really get into the mindset of their problem, their headache, all of that stuff is what's going to really help you even go faster. All right. So any other questions that we have for today? Any questions that you all have centered around anything that we covered today or anything, that is coming up for you.
And can you just repeat exactly what we're doing tonight?
Yes. So what you're doing tonight is, one, I want you to review your notes from today. Make sure that you're solid on who your avatar is. You know what I'll actually do? I think I'll do that. I have some worksheets that kind of go over what we just went through, like today, where you'll just fill it in. So I think what I'll do is send you those. Dang, I wish my assistant worked on the weekend. I hate when I gotta do this stuff myself. So I'm gonna send the links for the, okay. All right, so I'm gonna send you the link for, it's a Google form, right? That will it goes over exactly what we already did, but it's just you putting the information in. So what you did in the chat box, you're gonna then put it into the form. So if you're already clear on that, you'll be fine. If you want to make some adjustments or such, you'll make the adjustments and then you'll put it into the chat box. Oh, and the prayers, yes. So Jahada, I know you bought my book. Inside of my book, the prayers are in there as well. In chapter, hold on, let me see. Chapter, because I'm actually changing my book up. Where is the prayer? Where is the prayer? Oh, okay. So in chapter 4, set a spiritual foundation. So in chapter 4, the prayers are both in there, but I will copy and paste the prayers for students. Okay. So I'm going to send you the links to the worksheet, and I'm also going to send you the 2 prayers. So I want you to kind of, everything we went through today, your prayer, that'll be in the worksheet. So you don't even have to think anymore. I'll just send that as well. And then it'll come. Yeah. No, the hardcover, it is actually the digital copy. So what you actually purchased is the digital copy. The hardcover is not even available yet because I changed some stuff all around and you can't even buy it yet. All right. Any other questions, you all?
The recordings, Arena, will that be available and when?
Yeah, so it usually takes a couple of hours, like for Zoom to do all the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna send you out the recording. Maybe I'll send out usually I send the recording and any associated things at the same time. I'll see if it's done when we finish. But I'll send you the recording as well as the homework today.
Okay.
So you have that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then tomorrow we'll be meeting again at the same time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you come with your pen, your paper. We'll take breaks as well throughout, like we did today. So you won't be sitting there for the whole time. But tomorrow we're going to go over the additional work with like really getting in front of your audience. We're also going to do some things centered around your $10,000 book plan, like what that looks like for you if you're going to do that type of work with it and leverage your book into that. And then I'll also be sharing, for those of you who aren't in the Power Author Academy or in one of our other services, I'll share with you as well, like how you can get additional help beyond just this weekend, right? Beyond this weekend going forward. All right. So,
Question.
good? Yes.
When I joined this group, I didn't know about the other group because I would have just paid the little extra and got into that group. But I mean,
so I'll talk to you about that. Like we can talk about it tomorrow, whatever. Don't worry about that now. I just want you to focus on like what you're going to get out of this weekend. And then we'll see what's going to be the best step for you, going forward. Because if you're doing 2 weeks, bam, like, that's fast. I might even slow you down a little bit. We'll see. I'm not going to say nothing yet. Just focusing on where we are right now with this. Okay, so let's do one last wrap up. So we have 3 minutes. Let's do one last wrap up. I just want to hear, are you getting something out of this? Like, are you happy with the work that you're doing so far? Do you feel like you're getting closer? You can see your book in your head. So Sharanda, we're gonna come to you first. Are you getting some good information?
Definitely getting good information. You are doing exactly what I said don't do, which is stressing me out, Zarina. But
How are you getting stressed out?
I mean, you already said it, like narrowing it down, like zeroing in on who is definitely a thing. And like I know I cannot, I know I'm not for everybody. So I don't even have you know that too. I don't even have the illusion that I'm going to be able to help the whole world. But like even in my mentally targeted subgroup, there's still a subgroup of that subgroup, right? Like a subculture of that. So zeroing in on that part, like tonight's homework is gonna be like homework. That's why I was like, let me watch some of the video. I need to go back. Give me the cliff notes.
So let me say real quick, Sharanda, that when you narrow down, it should actually feel freeing versus, I know it feels painful for most people because they're not accustomed to that. But in reality, what I'm doing is freeing you up. I'm actually helping you to create a freedom group of people that you're working with versus just any old body. Because honestly, you and I, all of us, we are at the stages of our lives where we get to decide and we get to design how we want our stuff to play out. Like, who do we want to work with, right? So if I am particular and if I know, like, okay, I like to work with XYZ type of people, right? XYZ type of people, I can put certain things out that attract those people to me. There was a point, you all, when I actually almost walked away from this entire business. I was like, I don't want to do books anymore. I'm tired of that. Blah, blah, blah. And it was because I had what you call headache clients. I had headache clients. I had people that were paying me to do work, but I did not like working with them. They were constantly not really doing what I said, or they would challenge me on every single thing. They didn't really value what it is I was doing, or some of them would just ask me 1,000,001 questions, like always texting me, always. And I was like, God, like, it's not, you're not paying me that much, like to be always in my inbox like that. So there was a point where I really almost, shut the whole thing down until I realized it wasn't the business, it was the people. And that's my responsibility. Like, my responsibility is to work with people that feed me, that make me feel great, that like up my spirit. And if I don't put in certain parameters, to protect my own spirit, I can't fault anybody for that. Right. So when you are creating your avatar, when you're creating that sub culture, what you're actually doing is you're protecting your spirit, because you don't have to have 1,000,001 people in order to have a thriving 6-figure, multi-6-figure, 7-figure business. I have friends that only work with like less than 40 people a year, and they have multiple 7-figure businesses. 40 people, right? Like 40 people, if that was their goal, right? If your thing is like to have a thriving business, it doesn't have to be a whole lot of people. So you get to kind of choose, who you want to work with. Even Selwa, like you're doing education, right? Like, so you have, your teachers, but you could first like pick a particular type of school that you want to work with and introduce this book to that type of school first. It could be that maybe I want to introduce this book to Islamic schools, and I'm going to find all 500 Islamic schools in the United States, and I want to introduce the book there first. You know what I mean? Like, it could be I want to find public schools, and I want to introduce the book there. Or I want to find sixth grade reading teachers, and I want to, like, you know what I mean? You get to pick who you want to start with. And it doesn't mean that you're excluding everybody else, because it's not where if an 8th grader reaches out to you, you're going to say, no, you're not my avatar. Like, no, right? It's just that you have an initial group to start with. and then it actually ripples out. Like it really is dropping that thing into the puddle, dropping the pebble into the puddle, and it ripples out from there. But if you go from here, you're going to reach, you couldn't even do it. You have to drop it in a certain area first. All right. Any last questions? Is this making sense? Okay, good. So Selwa, are you getting something out of it? Is it working for you?
Yes.
Awesome. Jahida, you feeling good? You happy about being here?
Yes, ma'am. You know I am. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome. All right, Dr. Alexis.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. You guys are great. Love you all. Bye. I'll see you tomorrow.
Juicy, juicy.